Dear friend, thank you for your everlasting support for my channel. Please encourage your friends to subscribe my channel. Okay, let's go to continue with Interchange 3. We have Unit 3, Indirect Request. We said that the differences between indirect request and direct request. Direct request, you see the person, you ask him right away, like we say, face to face. Indirect, maybe you have a problem with that person, you don't want to speak with that person, then you ask somebody to ask that person. It means here would be involved 3 people. The first one, direct, will involve only 2 people. Here we have 3 people. You ask somebody to ask another person to do a request for you. For example, we have it. We say noun. We know subject and object should be noun. That is the other reason we say here noun. Then we have a subject. Then we have the verb. Then we have a pronoun because for a person we're gonna ask them. Then we have the complement or continuing, give us information to continue. If we have direct, Sarah, you forgot to turn your phone off. This is we directly, we see the person, we're asking her, Sarah. Sometimes we say, hey Sarah, you forgot to turn your phone off. Then you have statement or direct request. Then we're gonna make it indirect. Here we say modal, then we have a subject, then we have the root of the verb, sometimes we call it infinitive, then we have the object. Then we have to connect it to the second part, we use that. Then we have the other clause, which is we said it, clause is subject verb. Then here we have another pronoun, then we have possessive. Let's go to the sentences. Could you tell Sarah? Okay, that's the first part. That's the connector connecting the 2 sentences, 2 clauses. Then we say she forgot to turn her phone off. Then we put question mark because here in the beginning, if you see here, we have auxiliary verb, which is modal here. Then we have the first sentences. The first sentences here we have it, or the first clause, then connected with the second clause with that. Here we have that connecting the 2 clauses to each other. Then we call them indirect request because you're asking somebody to tell Sarah that she forgot to turn her phone off. The action here is already taken place. Let's go to the second. Well, there is no differences between could and can in American English. Maybe in British English there's a little different, but in American English there is no differences. Can you tell Sarah, okay, that connecting the 2 part. Then we have the other clauses. She forgot to turn her phone off. Then we have a question mark. If you remember, we said because auxiliary, then the subject, then the verb, then the object, then connecting that 2 clauses. She forgot to turn her phone off. Sometimes we say her cell phone off. Let's go to the other one. We have noun as the subject. Then we have auxiliary verb. Then we have here not. Verb, which is going to be the root of the verb. Object, then we have the complement. Saman, do not forget the essay due. Then we have imperative because imperative, it means we have a sentences with not. And then here the subject we deleted because we know we're talking about Saman, because Saman, you do not forget to do not forget the essay due. Okay, then here we say when deleting a subject of a sentences to make it imperative, the verb has to be changed to either. And we have here either infinitive or should be gerund because we have only those 2 options. We change it to infinitive or gerund. For example, modal, subject, verb, or the infinitive root or root of the verb, object, not, to infinitive complement. Let's look to the sentences. Can you tell Saman? Okay, that's the first clause. Then we have that, sometimes but we delete it, not to forget the essay do. Okay, how we got it here? Because if we look to this part here, let's copy it, then we're gonna be better to know how this has happened. The sentences is like this, because here we have the subject, you. Saman, you do not forget the essay do, okay? Then we're gonna be like this, okay? But if we delete the subject here, if I delete the subject, then my sentence is gonna be like this. Do not forget the essay do. Then I have to make it question mark. Sorry. I have to make it question mark. But sometimes when we delete the subject, then we have to delete the auxiliary verb. Then we delete do here. Then my sentence is gonna be ended like this. Then if I delete this, do, the auxiliary verb, then I have to change the verb again to be regular, not to forget, or not forget the essay. But here, then we have to change this one. This is the root of the verb, either to infinitive or to be gerund. That's the reason if you look here, then we say, can you tell Saman? Okay, that's the first part. Then the second part, not to forget the essay do. Do, okay? Then we have two sentences. This is, we call them a clause because I have a subject, then I have a verb, then I have the object. But if we look here, we call them, this is phrase, because I don't have the subject, then I don't have the verb, it's only a group of words, we call them phrase, okay? That's, we call them imperative. Noun, which is auxiliary verb, then we have verb root or root of the verb infinitive, then we have object. Then we call them this one yes or no question, because somebody asking somebody other. We have azat. Can you do your homework? Sometimes we say please. Sometimes maybe you give them order. Can you do your homework? Then if we make this one indirect, this is direct. Then we say indirect request, we say modal, subject, root of the verb, infinitive, object. Then we have if, because we have to make it two clauses connecting with if, then clauses, we say subject, verb, object. Let's look to the sentence, how it's going to be. Can you ask Azad? That's the first clauses. Then we have if clauses, or if the connector. Then we have he has done his homework. Then, but the two sentences going to be like this. Can you ask Azad if he has done his homework? Okay. Then we have another one, we say, Azad, like a question, have you done your homework? That's direct request. Then you could say, could you ask Azad if he has done his homework? Okay. You connecting the two, we say, could you ask Azad if he has done his homework? There's going to be yes or no. The other one also yes or no. Then we say, could you ask Azad if he has done his homework? You could say yes. Could you ask Azad if he has done his homework? And then you're going to be here, yes. If a person going to ask, you could say yes, I can, or yes, I could ask Azad. Then if we look to this second part, will be different, because here the auxiliary verb is has, then we have here has done. Look to here, another sentence. Noun, auxiliary verb, verb root, infinitive, then we have object here. Then we say Sarah as a question, because we have, are you going to the party? Then the question is going to be yes or no. Then we have modal, subject, verb, or root of the verb, infinitive, then object, then whether or not. The other one we use if. Now we're going to say whether or not. Then we have the clause, then subject, verb, object, the clause when you have it. Then we have indirect request. Can you ask Sarah? That's the first part. Then we have whether. That's as a connector between the two sentences, two clauses. She is going to the party or not. Then you could say, can you ask Sarah whether she is going to the party or not? Then we could, the good thing about whether or not, we could take or not here, for example, like as we did clause with the whether, or you could put at the end of the sentence. We could say, could you ask Sarah whether or not? Then we have, she is going to the party. Okay, we have the two clauses, first clause, then the second clause. Then we have W question. We have noun, then W question, because we know W question could be what, where, when, who, then whose, then how, all of them. Then we have auxiliary verb, then subject and object. Okay, let's look how we do this one. Sarah, where are you going to have a dinner? It means we're asking about with the place. But if we say, when are you going to have a dinner, we're asking about the time. But we use where for the location, the places where Sarah is going to have a dinner. Then we say, Sarah, where are you going to have a dinner or your dinner? Sometimes we say here, modal, subject, root of the verb of infinitive, object. Then we have where, could be when, could be what, any of W question. Then clause with the subject, verb, object. Then question mark, because we have auxiliary verb. Then you could say, can you ask Sarah? That's the first clause. Where, as a connector, then you say, she is going to have a dinner. We have the first one, first clause, then the second clause connected by where. Or we have like this, noun, YW question, auxiliary verb, subject, and then object. Then we say, Mr. Sam, what time is our exam tomorrow? Because if we look here, because we have auxiliary verb before the subject, then we put question mark. Then we make an indirect request. We have modal, subject, verb, root, infinitive, object, what, clause, subject, verb, object. If we look to the sentences, the differences between this and this. Can you ask Sam what time our exam is tomorrow? The differences between this part and this part. If we look at here, the two part, if you look the position of the auxiliary in the first sentences and the position of the auxiliary in the second sentences, we make it indirect question. Because I cannot have it like this. For example, let me do it one. A lot of students, they make this kind of mistake. For example, they have it like this, then they put is. This is, they put it here. Okay, this is a big mistake. A lot of people, they do it, because here I have this one, the first one is a question. Then if we look to the second part, also here is a question. Then I cannot have two questions in one sentence. Then this part, we call them wrong, because I have two questions in one sentences. But this is correct. That's the reason we take the position of is, what time our exam is tomorrow, kind of noun indirect request. Noun, YW question, auxiliary verb, subject, object. We have here, Sam, why didn't you come to the school party on Saturday? Then we say modal, subject, verb, root, object, YW question, then clauses, then subject, verb, object. You could say can or could or would is the same meaning. There's no difference between all three here for grammatically, but for the meaning it'd be different. Can you ask Sam? Or you say, could you ask Sam, or could you ask Sam, all three? But for example, can you ask? Then a little give me some order. Could you ask is a more polite. Then we say with you. It means do you have the ability to ask him or not? Why he did not come to the school party on Saturday? If you look here back again, we have why didn't. Then we say why he did not, because we have to change the position of the auxiliary verb here because it's before the subject, but here we put after the subject. Now let's go to this one. Noun, YW question, auxiliary verb, subject, object. Sardar, when is your birthday party? Then same thing. Say could or can or would. Then we say the first part. Could you ask Sardar when his birthday party is? Okay, let's go to the other one. Noun, W question, same thing, auxiliary verb, subject, object. Sir, how old are you? Then we have modal, subject, verb, or infinitive, object, how, cause. Then we say subject, verb, object. Could you or can you ask him? That's the first one. How old he is, okay? Not how old is he, okay? That's, we said that a lot of people, they make that mistake. We have to be careful. And the exam day, then we cannot put is here, okay? This is wrong as we said it, because here we have two questions in one sentences. This is, we say, wrong, okay? Even if you see the computer said this is wrong. Thank you very much for watching. Then the next one will be Unit 4, Past Continue versus Past Simple. Okay, thank you very much.